Congress tonight deadlocked on so-called comprehensive immigration reform, as the president likes to call it. We have two reports tonight on what is amounting to a showdown in both houses of Congress. Luis Schiavone reports on a new Congressional Budget Office report that says and demonstrates that the Senate legislation will do absolutely nothing to stop illegal aliens from entering this country. And Casey Wyan tonight reports on the swearing in of this nation's newest member of Congress. He's pledged to do all he can to defeat amnesty. We begin with Luis Schiavone in Washington. Luis.
Lou, as voters watch the Senate immigration debate, they had the impression that the plan was to stop the flow of illegal aliens into the United States. The numbers tell a different story. The Senate immigration bill would do little to reduce the flow of illegal aliens into the U.S. That finding from the Congressional Budget Office.
We're not seeing, according to the CBO study, a reduction in illegal immigration. That's just unacceptable. This bill, the more we learn about it, the worse it looks. It cannot become law. We've got to stop it some way.
Senate Judiciary Committee Republican Jeff Sessions asked the CBO to assess the anticipated flow of illegals into the U.S. before the Senate bill and after. Based on the Senate immigration bill as presented at the outset of the debate, CBO projects that if the measure passed, the number of illegals expected in the U.S. would be 900,000 in 2007 and 2008. There would be slight reductions in illegal immigration in the years thereafter, but at no time over the next 10 years would there be fewer than 750,000 illegals entering the U.S. in a single year. That would be on top of eventually tripling legal immigration numbers to 3 million a year and sliding into legal residency or citizenship the majority of those already in the U.S. between 12 and 20 million.
It's right to wonder, by growing the U.S. population by 100 million people in less than 40 years, what will be the impact on issues like congestion and pollution and sprawl and loss of open spaces? These are profoundly important questions. The senators who passed that bill obviously haven't given that a thought at all.
A CNN poll commissioned by Lou Dobbs tonight shows that 62% of those surveyed have little confidence that Congress and the president can pass meaningful immigration reform. Right now, though, Lou, immigration legislation doesn't seem to be going anywhere fast. Neither the House nor the Senate has officially appointed negotiators to a conference, even as a generous schedule of summer recesses loom. Lou?
Well, it is illustrative, I think, for everyone who is interested and concerned about the illegal immigration crisis and border security crisis to learn that all of those senators who stood up there so proudly on Capitol Hill and said they had really accomplished a miraculous piece of work, important, profound legislation, we're just simply conducting a charade on the American people, as confirmed again, this time by the Congressional Budget Office. Luis Schiavone, thank you very much for that report. Congressman Brian Bilbray, who ran on a strict border security platform, was sworn into office today on Capitol Hill. Congressman Bilbray promises to begin work immediately on this overriding issue for his constituency. His victory is already influencing the midterm election debate all across the country. Casey Wyan reports.
A week after voters chose Republican Brian Bilbray to fill out the remainder of disgraced bribe-taker Randy Duke Cunningham's term, Bilbray took the oath of office.
You solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Bilbray survived a race that began with 18 candidates, then turned 5 days before the election when his main opponent, Democrat Francine Busby, encouraged illegal aliens to help her campaign. While Democrats tried to turn the race into a referendum on Republican ethics scandals, ultimately border security and illegal immigration dominated the campaign.
What is obvious in the last few months is the greatest scandal in America is not that one man broke the law, but that 12 million illegal immigrants are in this country, and Washington isn't doing enough about it.
Voter turnout for California's 50th District special election was 7% higher than the statewide primary and 14% higher than a special election in another district. Both national parties spent heavily, an estimated $20 million, because they viewed the battle as key to success in November's nationwide midterm elections.
Republicans felt that if they lost this seat, it was almost an implicit acceptance of this view that there's this corrupt Congress for sale and Republicans ought to be blamed there. So they needed to win this.
But there's little celebrating in the White House because Bilbray won by taking a position on illegal immigration, no amnesty period, that's in direct contrast to the president's.
Congratulations, you're now a member of the 109th Congress.
And an example for candidates who may try to avoid the issue of illegal immigration in November.
Bilbray's congressional committee assignments are still to be determined. However, he is hoping to be appointed to the conference committee that will attempt to resolve the stark differences between the House and Senate border security and immigration reform bills. Lou.
Again, that conference committee from the House side has not been selected. The Senate leadership deciding, Casey, as you know, to send 26 U.S. senators into that conference to support what they're calling comprehensive immigration reform legislation that, again, has been demonstrated by the Heritage Foundation, the Congressional Budget Office, the reporting of this broadcast. Everyone who's looked at this legislation, it is a travesty and a joke and an absolute violation, in my judgment, is certainly an absolute violation of the oath of office taken by every one of those senators to defend the interests of this nation.
And there's also a procedural holdup that House Republicans are blaming on Senate Democrats that could force this conference committee to remain grounded for the foreseeable future, Lou. So we don't know if there's going to be any progress at all.
That procedural hang-up, reference to the little constitutional matter that legislation involving revenue is to originate in the House of Representatives, not the august Senate body.
Right.
Casey, thank you very much. Casey Wyan. Well, coming up next here, your ballot may not be counted. If you're voting on electronic voting machines, you'll never know. Perhaps neither will we. But some states are awakening to the dangers of those e-voting machines and trying to determine whether they are jeopardizing